Parasyte the Maxim, Episode 7, A Dark Night's Passing. Now, the start of this episode was kind of exactly what I expected it to be, because, of course, at the end of the last one, I was like, oh, this is actually a guy. So that was really easy to see. It's like, you can look down, and it's like, that obviously is not his mom. So, of course, that wasn't going to be his mom. We actually get to meet a new character whose parasite is actually in his neck, because the parasite caused the guy to fall off the cliff before he decided he wasn't going to commit suicide. And so it's like, crap, if he dies, I'll die, so I might as well just mature right now as best I can, and try to get some air so that we can both survive. But I like these new characters, because for one, we have the guy, of course, don't remember his name, but he's like a real big crybaby. So he's crying all the time. He was crying about his own story. He cried about Shinichi's story, and then we have his parasite, who's just called Parasyte, who is so different from Migi. It was kind of weird when he started to speak. It was like, holy crap. He's sort of really brash and outspoken. And the way they do it is like, I've never really paid any attention to it, but I don't think they really show teeth on Migi, like, at all. And if they do, I think they're kind of normal. But for the other guy's parasite, he has like those really sharp teeth, because I think they did it that way on purpose, because it's so over dramatic as a character already. And he like literally has like a giant mouth. They do like the sharp teeth, and it's really dramatic and everything. And I like that. I thought it was kind of cool that they did that aesthetically, because it's such an over-the-top parasite, and he's just like, I learned to speak from TV and everything, because that's all my host does. So I thought that was actually kind of cool. It was like, that's pretty interesting to see this huge difference, because obviously Migi has actually been very close to the normal evil, and antagonistic parasites that we've seen. And then this parasite is just like really funny and like happy-go-lucky almost. Outside of the fight, like, he was actually pretty serious during the fight, which kind of changed my idea of what the parasite was like, because it was like, okay, it grew learning from television, but it does pay attention, because it was actually really cool that during the fight it's like, oh, it's super predictable. It keeps going for the same spot over and over again. And that instantly, I was like, that kind of instantly changes what I think about this parasite, because it would always talk about its host and kind of make fun of him and call him a crybaby. And then it's like, it got really tactical during that fight when it really mattered. And the way he moved all the vital organs and everything, I was like, that was actually really cool. And it seemed weird, because I was like, man, they killed this character off and he's just toast now. For a second, I kind of thought maybe that Shinichi would be like, hey, do this and you'll kind of fuse or whatever. But then it's like, nope, not dead, because actually I just moved all the organs because you're totally predictable. And I was like, that's actually really sweet. I was like, that was a cool move. They actually kill off the parasite at the end. And I was kind of okay with it and kind of not, because I always, in those types of moments, I always prefer to have the character get revenge. But after they did it, it was kind of like, well, you already went through so much. I didn't think you should be the one to actually, even though it's not your mother, it's still her body and it still looks like her. Like, you shouldn't have been the one to have to, like, chop her head off and, kill her. So, in that regard, I was like, that does make sense. I can understand it for sure, but I always kind of like seeing the main character, or whichever character, get their revenge. Well, if it's the character I'm rooting for, at least. I do like to see them get their revenge. So I was like, okay, I still kind of wish he got it, but at the same time, it's like, I can see that. Kind of just helping someone out, because that would be a really tough thing to do, and it's like, you feel like you'd be helping that person. And he probably did in the end, where Shinichi didn't have to do it himself. But it was a really awesome fight scene. Like, the first part was cool because, it was like, alright, they're kind of holding this thing off, then they get taken out and seemingly killed. And then, Migi goes to sleep, but she transforms Shinichi's arm. And it was really cool. Like, he's going out, he has like the crazy blade and everything. It made me think of the game Prototype, and something I keep thinking of. For their blades and everything, especially how he had the long blade, and even the whip blades are similar to a Prototype. But, he goes in, and I was wondering, I was like, how good is he going to be in this fight? Like, I know he has the, an enhanced strength and, more speed, but we see in this episode that he has a lot more power. Like, we get kind of the idea, like, we get sort of the science behind it, and it was pretty crazy to hear Migi say, the Migi you're talking to now is probably only 70% of the original Migi. that kind of surprised me. I didn't think it would be as crazy as that, because that's a huge chunk to kind of just be flowing through his blood system. And we also got a pretty interesting display of Migi actually being able to separate lower and lower as far as consciousness. That was actually kind of awesome, and it showed like, hey, this is what happened. Basically, when I was trying to bring you back to life, your heart was stronger than I was expecting, and it kind of just siphoned off a lot of different parts of me, which kind of stayed. They're so tiny that Migi's like, oh, I don't think they'll kind of try to become parasites again and kind of go after brain capillaries or anything, so you should be fine. But that was pretty interesting, and it gave a great explanation as to why Shinichi is so insanely strong now, because it's 30% is a lot. So that, better vision, he has the sensing, the super strength and the speed, which basically comes from the strength of, his legs just being able to shoot him further and faster. And that was a cool explanation, and then the fight was just awesome, and he's like, I can see everything, and he's jumping and cutting and stuff. He got cut at like one moment because he almost had the kill, and once again, that's why at the very ending it was like, I can kind of understand it, because when he actually had the chance in the beginning of the fight, or I guess we could say like the middle of the fight, he did pause because it was his mother, and that's how he got cut. So, it made sense, but it was just a really great fight. It was really awesome to see him be able to stand up on his own, and it's such a different fight from when he fought Mr. A, and it's like, he still stood up on his own during that fight, and Miga's like, hey, we work together, we can totally make this happen, and they do, so it was still kind of cool. But this was just like, I'm gonna effing kill this thing, and he's dodging, and he can see everything. He's, like, even when it first started, he was just like, boom, dodge this, dodge that, and it was almost like a Matrix type of thing. It was like, nothing, this is pathetic. So I love the fight. It does have me looking forward to some of the stuff, like whoever he's gonna end up fighting. I'm assuming maybe for the finale we'll end up seeing him go against the teacher, and it might be a fairly even fight because the teacher is so powerful. But I really love this kind of first show of force for his character, because the last episode, we just got like heightened senses. Basically, he could run really fast and jump super high. But in this one, it was like everything is way beyond, what he had before. So it's not just like, oh, he can see better. It's like he can see at insanely high speeds. Like, we've seen what they do. Like, they whip around so fast that people's heads are chopped off, and then it does like the line across, and that's how fast it is. And he can see that now, and that says way more than, oh, he doesn't need glasses. That's kind of cool. He can see at like super speeds. Very different than what I was initially thinking. So, love this episode. Great action. I don't know how often we'll see this other character, because he was on the island, and then Shinichi was like, well, I'm going back home, basically, and that was pretty much it. And typical anime fashion, we have the girl who kind of had a crush on him and everything, and it's like, that just always happens in anime. It's like, people help people all the time. They aren't always just like, oh, I'm falling for you now. It's just very anime, and it was just kind of funny. And then, even when they went back, they kind of made it seem like this other girl, because she could sense him as soon as he, I guess, got off the train or whatever he got off, because it didn't seem like they were near water anymore, so I guess he got off the boat and then was on the train. And the girl was like, he's back. Like, she could instantly sense where he was. And then so could the girl that he actually does like. And Migi's mentioned, like, she has sensory abilities a little bit. So it's kind of interesting. Like, she might actually have sensory abilities. I kind of thought Migi might have meant the girl is just perceptive. Like, she's very perceptive and that's it. But she might actually have some sort of ability, but obviously not nearly as high as the other girl. But I like this episode. It was a really fun one. Nice little conclusion, I guess, to like the sort of, it's not a side story, but obviously like he was in a different location, so it was kind of interesting. Like, that's where all the change really took place, was on this little island. So now he's back home, and then we'll just have to see how it plays out. But I really enjoyed this one. Of course, though, want to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I already asked for the last episode what you guys thought about the new Shinichi, but I want to know what you guys thought about this fight scene. Both parts of it. Like, the first part with a new, I guess there's technically two characters, or two new characters, and then the second half with Shinichi just on his own. Obviously, I love both, and especially the ending where it's like, nope, moved his organs. It was just really cool to me. One thing that happened that I was surprised by was Migi falling asleep. I thought for sure that they would show us that Shinichi actually has full control, but he just didn't know it, and he'd realize it during that fight. But then it was like, oh no, Migi still changed the hand, and it was just like, that was pretty much it. But we might get to that point where Shinichi can do it himself. Maybe it wouldn't be as strong, or maybe he can't do the blade as big or something like that. I don't know, but I feel like, especially with the 30% thing being inside of his body, maybe that would just give him a better connection to Migi, so that even if Migi's asleep, he'll be able to mentally just think how to change his hand into the blade. So I was kind of surprised we didn't get that in this episode, because I thought that's where they were headed with Migi falling asleep, and then it was like, no, Migi changed the hand and then kind of left him to do his own thing. So maybe it won't happen ever, but I feel like it's just inevitable, especially, like I said, 30% thing. Doesn't mean much, because Migi says, like, oh, they're so tiny, I can't even connect to them, so it's just like, some amazing vitamins in your system right now, and, calcium. So that's pretty much it, but who knows? Like, you never really know. But I do want to know what you guys think, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.